Hello, today we're going to have a look at the Insta360 X3 360 degree camera, like the name didn't give you a clue anyway. If you've looked at reviews of these on YouTube, you could be mistaken for thinking that they cure cancer, world poverty, and they'll get you laid. And that's not strictly true, unfortunately, because when you put this on the end of a pole, you're still going to look a dick walking along with a camera on the end of a pole. Somebody described this type of action camera as point and shoot, and a 360 degree camera as shoot and point, because actually you're taking in everything around you, and later on you decide where you want to point. Big deal, I hear you say. But it is a big deal because this is an action camera. And if you're doing action and you've got action all around you, then the ability to record everything and pick what you view later on is extremely valuable. So for example, I mount this on the front of my kayak, and I can get some lovely video of me kayaking. I can get pictures of my mates with me, and when my mate next to me or just behind me tips his kayak over, it's all recorded. We can take the piss out of him later because it's always very funny when somebody tips a kayak over and it's not you. It's even funnier with Dave because he leaves his often leaves his hat floating on the water, and that's particularly funny. I mistakenly bought this thinking it was a do-everything camera. It would be a 360 degree action camera. It's waterproof. And I'd also, because of the fantastic quality, I could place it on a tripod and make this sort of video. And actually, that's when it falls over. So don't be fooled into thinking that this camera does all these things. It won't cure cancer. It won't cure world poverty. Probably won't get you laid either. So let's go through it and just see what it's good at, because what it does well, it really does well, and what it doesn't do so well, because there's plenty of those too. So what's this good for? It has a number of killer features. It's waterproof for a start. That in itself is pretty good. Its main killer feature is you can put it on a selfie stick, and this is where I say you walk around looking like a dick with a camera on a stick, and you can hold it pretty much at any angle. And it records 360 degrees that way and 360 degrees that way. It effectively records an entire globe. Now, it's tempting to think that you can just put it anywhere and it will record everything. Got to remember that it records from where it is. So if you're recording up high, you can't take a shot from down below. You can't reframe a shot to be somewhere where the camera isn't. It sounds obvious, I know, but it took me a little while to work that one out. If you want to walk along and capture a whole 360 degree environment and the ambience and the nature, the weather, right down to what's on the floor, this thing's great. And by stitching together the images from the two lenses, it removes the selfie stick. And I've had some great fun walking around, or you walk around in a crowd, you put it up high and record everything, and it works great. It's got a number of other nice features. It's got burst mode. It's got pretty much everything you could need for an action camera. I'm not going to go through them all. There's a million videos on YouTube covering it. One of the ones I've really enjoyed is called Starburst. Ooh. And you put it down on a table at night. You have to plug in another power supply because it won't run all night. And you just press Starburst record, and just leave it. And in the morning you pick it up and you get this amazing image of the stars going round over the night, which obviously it uses software to do. It's got burst mode, so you can take a load of pictures. It's got time lapse. It's got all sorts of features. It's got everything you'd expect from an action camera. But that brings it with a number of other problems. And let's have a quick look at them. It records by taking just over 180 degrees from this lens and just over 180 degrees from this lens, and then the line where the pictures join up, it uses software to stitch together and it's called the stitch line. You need to be aware of it, because if you've got it on a pole and you're walking along like this with bright sunshine there and shadow on this side, on this lens, obviously the pictures are completely different. So you have to be kind of conscious of which way you angle the camera. And in theory, you should angle the side of the camera at the bright light so that both lenses get the same amount of light. Otherwise, you get this strange sort of diagonal line through your image where it stitches them together. I'll put some footage together and you'll actually see that line. You do have to think about it a bit. It does take a bit of getting used to. But there's another problem with that, and that is you're recording that entire globe when actually your mind can only see a part of it. You can only put a part of it on a screen, on Facebook, on YouTube, on whatever. So you're recording a huge amount just to get that frame that you want. And you use a piece of software, which we'll have a look at, called Insta360 Studio, and you can take that entire globe image and you can zoom in and out. You can make what's called a little planet, which is like a sort of ball of the planet you're walking on with you going on. Some fantastic effects, but it takes time. It takes a lot of time. And I reckon I took this to Le Mans afterwards. I made a video and we put some videos together for the crowd of us that went. And I reckon for every hour that I recorded on this, I spent 5 to 10 hours editing, going round, zoom in on that, pan round here, and then you set it all up and it doesn't quite pan how you thought. And there's a lot of editing. And that brings me on to another problem, and that is you will eat disk space. I mean, this thing eats disk space. By the time you've recorded the raw video of that whole globe in every direction, plus the sound, it's a lot of disk space. So another thing to think about, you need a lot of disk space and you need a reasonably powerful computer to do that reframing. I've got a MacBook Air. It's not particularly old. It's got the SSD hard drive. It's got a decent processor, and I have to say, you go through, you reframe, you hit export, you go away and you come back quite a time later to find your videos come out. So it's not perfect from that, but what it does do as an action camera, it does spectacularly well. I mean, as an action camera, I don't think you can beat it. It is fantastic. But, and this is a big but, I bought it as a general camera for recording these types of videos. And I'm going to put in some comparisons of what I've recorded on an iPhone 14, which is what's being recording on now, using the main lenses, and this. And honestly, I knew this problem existed. I knew this was never going to record as well as an iPhone with all those lenses, all that power. And honestly, Apple has spent a lot of time getting the iPhone's cameras absolutely nailed. I knew this was never going to match it. But after making the comparison videos, I was shocked how poor this was, especially in lower light, because it's recording such a huge area. It's got less light. And it really quite shocked me how bad it was at recording just a straight on point of view shot. If you're going to do that, I would buy a GoPro or a DJI. There's a lot of people compare these and say, oh, this one's better, this one's better, this one's better. Actually, they're different beasts. This is a 360 camera, action camera. This is an action camera, but it's actually points in one direction, and they're quite a different thing. So here's the Insta360 recording in 360 mode. I did try recording in single lens mode, and that gave me obviously a wide field of vision, but it didn't give me the ability to edit it down to just the frames, just the part I want. So what I'm effectively doing now is recording the entire room above and below. We can scan around and see everything, but what I can now do is I can actually get myself in the frame. So I had to re-record that because after single lens mode, I found that actually I was recording my entire room and I couldn't edit it. So this is the Insta360, and it'll be interesting to see how the distortion is compared to the iPhone. So here's a video shot using my iPhone 14, using the main lenses, not the one that face the screen, because the main ones are obviously better quality. So here's the Insta360 using its own microphones, and I suspect they won't be very good, but let's see. So here's a quick video recorded on my iPhone 14, again using the main lenses, but using the iPhone 14's microphone. I haven't got a microphone on now, so this is recorded on the actual phone. One of the things to consider with a 360 camera, and I have bought 360 cameras before. This one I bought reasonably cheap, well not particularly cheap, but much cheaper than the Insta360. Econ, no idea what it is. It works fine. You put an SD card in it, you charge it up. I put it on my bike helmet when I was commuting in London on my bike or on my electric scooter, or my illegal electric scooter. And yes, it worked. It recorded a 360-degree globe. But the software that came with this was crap. Absolute crap. One more version of Windows and suddenly it didn't work. No more support, no more upgraded versions. They'd sold me the camera, they didn't care about software anymore. And to be fair, it's one of the things about buying from a company like Insta360, they've invested heavily in their software. It's good. So you do have to consider that if you've got one of these cameras, you are going to have to use software to get the images off it. Now, there are other things, obviously, like Adobe. If you've got the Adobe suite at a huge cost, then that will do this too. But if you haven't, you're just buying a camera, then remember what the software that comes with it is critically important to the quality of the camera. Let's have a quick look at the software. As I said, the software is essential. Our brains can't think in a globe like you get the images off this, so you need to be able to reframe it. We'll have a quick look through. I think you'll see it's pretty slick. It didn't take long to learn. I think pretty much anyone could learn it within enough to use it within 20-30 minutes. Again, some great YouTube videos out there on how to reframe. So let's fire up the Insta360 Studio app. And we'll make it maximum screen. And here you get open files. You can open them from your computer. You can connect directly to the SD card, etc., etc. Pretty straightforward. Open files. I've got some files here I've put on here just from the harvest. It's a good one because I'm sitting on top of a harvester, so it's good to get that sort of all-round view. So we load those. And so this is our video clip, and if you look at it, you'll see it's actually a globe. And we look at it here, and what we're doing here is we're actually looking at a part of that globe. And we can go round, we can look up at the sky, we can look wherever we like. We can look at the sky and zoom out, which gives you a very odd effect. Or just come back down. And here I'm just using the mouse to move around. And let's say I want to record the front of the harvester. So here we're sitting at the front of the harvester. And obviously if I look level, I'm going to see the horizon. And if I look down, I'm going to see the harvester. Now, interestingly, I spoke earlier about those plastic covers. And if you see this sort of fuzzy area here, there's a few of these fuzzy little patches on the video, and that's actually those plastic lens covers that I've now got rid of because of this problem. Anyway, back to the software. I can point down at the controls of the harvester, and what you do, and it took me a long while to learn this, there's a couple of things you have to really learn, and that's to make a keyframe. So you make a keyframe here, And I tend to use natural view, which flattens it out. And the trouble with that is as soon as you do it, you have to restart with where you are. So there's the keyframe. Now what that keyframe does is it sets where you want to look and any other parameters, the angles and things from the horizon and that sort of thing. Have a play with these. You can get various different effects. So I've set a keyframe there, and we can play it. And you'll notice that the harvester's moved around underneath us, but the camera is still facing in the same place because the camera's on a gyro. So what I might want to do is I might want to move with the harvester. So what I can do is I can move around here and I can make another keyframe. And then I can play a bit. And I'll make another keyframe here. You'll see in a minute you don't have to make this many keyframes, because what it actually does is it moves you naturally from keyframe to keyframe. So if I put a keyframe somewhere else, and let's leave the keyframe there. And now we want to come round to the front of the harvester again, and we'll make another keyframe there. Now, as we go along on the harvester here, at some point I might want to look behind. So what I can do is I can make a keyframe. I can move on a little bit. I'll go a little way because I want to show you how it transitions between them. And then at this point I want to zoom round slowly, pan round to not me particularly, but I want to pan round to the back of the harvester. Now, you remember in my video I said wherever you record something, that is the point of view, and it's tempting to think you can move something. Here I can't get me out the frame much as I'm trying. So that's what I'm saying in that you have to understand that it records from where the camera is. It doesn't give you ultimate possibilities. And we'll carry on a bit further and stick a keyframe in there. Now let's go back to that one and let's play it. So I'm looking forward here. We'll reach the keyframe where it starts to move, and you'll see it will start transitioning from that keyframe round to the keyframe that I've set. And that's basically how you transition around on the video. You basically just move it round, and you'll see that it's even zooming in as it goes so that it lands to where I told it I wanted it to be. And in between here, let's just stop the video a minute. In between here there's a line, and if you click the line, which I'm struggling to do at the moment, let's move that right out the way. You'll see that we have a number of transitions. So we can start fast and slow down. We can start slow and speed up. We can start fast, slow down in the middle and speed up. Or the one I tend to use is start slow so you don't surprise the viewer, and then speed up in the middle and then slow down. So let's go back again and have another look at that. And you'll see it will start to move very slowly, then it will speed up, then it will slow down on the panning. So here it goes very slowly, speeding up, and then at the end it'll slow right down again, and there it goes. It's very jerky on the editor. It doesn't jerk like that when you actually export it. So the main thing to learn from all this is keyframes. Keyframes is the absolute key to doing anything. It took me ages to get the hang of working with this without keyframes. And I watched a very good video on YouTube. Somebody who really knew what they were doing. And they said, keyframes, keyframes, keyframes. And I now understand that. The other thing you might want to do is these here allow you to trim to the start of the video and the end of the video. You can either click on here or you can drag the beginning of the video to somewhere, so say there, and the end of the video so to there, because generally speaking you trim the video, and then when you export the video it will then just go from the beginning tag to the end tag here. On the right here you've got some other options. You've got flow state stabilization. I always leave that on. Direction lock, it implied it had that on actually because it kept in the same direction when everything turned, but it isn't switched on here, interestingly. Here I can take off the sticky lens guard. You'll see that there's a slight focal distance change. When I recorded this I had the lens guards on, so I'm going to leave that. There's a number of stitching optimizations here and stitching calibration, which you do need to do from time to time. The main ones I tend to use is Colour Plus. This was taken early in the morning with very little light. It's a bit white, so you can up the colours a bit. You can go outrageous, but you'll notice this is starting to look a bit odd here. My hair's starting to look a bit odd. Well, odder than normal. So play about with the Colour Plus. There's Clarity Plus, which kind of puts some sharpness in as well. I've noticed when you click on that it removes the Colour Plus, and have a play with that as well. Aquavision's for when you're underwater, surprisingly enough, and you can optimize your audio here as well. You can add logos and stuff. Don't think I've ever done that. I don't want Insta360 over all my videos, though I might add my own at some point. And the other thing is project management. So what you can do is you can set up a number. You can take in a clip and you can say, well, I want to export this view, and this view. So you can set up a number of frames from a single project. And this is deceptive as well. You would think this is the zoom on the actual image. It's not. You zoom the image using the mouse wheel. This is the zoom on the timeline. It's quite useful, but not as good, I've found, as the one on iMovie. So have a play with it, see what you think. Finally, you click this, by the way, and it exports your video. It does take a little bit of time. It has to work quite hard to frame that video. Anyway, hope that helped. There's a couple of accessories that come with this. Some of them I didn't bother with. Some of them I didn't bother with and then realised I needed after. Some of them I bought and actually didn't need. So this might be quite a valuable thing for you. I bought the Insta360 selfie stick. They come in two lengths, 1 metre and I think 3 metres. I bought the 1 metre. Works fine for me. Beautiful quality. It gets removed by the software every time. I think probably most of these sticks work, but I know this one works. And as I say, beautiful quality, lovely piece of kit for not a lot more money. I bought that. That was a no-brainer. I also bought a silicone lens cover, and I'll come on to that. These lenses, I call them bug eye lenses, stick out. The camera will stand on its end, but when it's standing on its end, if it falls, it's going to fall on the lens. And if you damage these lenses, it's the end of your camera. And I thought about that, and I paid extra for these lens covers, plastic lens covers. You stick them on and they protect the lens, and in theory that's great. However, they're plastic, which means they scratch far easier than the glass lenses. And I started to get some really horrible effects, bad stitching lines. Every time the sun came out, I kept getting strange lines on my pictures, shadows and everything. I took these off and almost instantly it solved the problem. So I've come to the conclusion, while these are nice, if you're really cack-handed and you drop a lot of cameras and you don't look after them, these are probably a good investment. But I've taken them back off and the quality has improved. So the moral of the story is I now have to remember to always put the cover on, not even just laying it on down on the table without the cover. So I bought that cover. These I bought I wouldn't recommend them, and as I say, unless you're completely cack-handed. I may go and buy the long selfie stick. The 3-meter selfie stick puts the camera up. See, look at that. The bloody thing nearly fell then, and it's only just sitting on a flat table. Back to the selfie stick, the really long one, the 3-meter one, gives you an effect almost like a drone is following you or tracking you. Absolutely fantastic. So I may get the long one. The other thing I'm going to get is the invisible dive case. So it's a dive case that you can't see, so it gives you the full 360-degree vision underwater. I'm a keen scuba diver. Also, my son has just bought the latest, not quite the latest, so I guess the Hero 11 GoPro, which he takes diving. We're going to be diving together, and I'd be really interested to see how the GoPro Hero 11 stacks up to the Insta360 under the water. Again, they're different cameras, but it'll be interesting to see what the quality is like. So to sum this up, if you want a 360-degree action camera, the Insta360 X3 is fantastic. You will have a load of fun with it. There's no doubt. I've had great fun with it. It's got some really infuriating features. I can't pick it up without changing a setting on the touch screen. It's a bit like the iPhones. They've got so many gestures on them, you can't pick them up without emailing your mum. It's a bit like that, and a number of times I've picked this up and changed the white balance so that all my pictures come out blue. There's a lot of infuriating things. It's very susceptible to corrupting the SD card. 3 times now I've had that happen, where suddenly the SD card doesn't get recognised. There is a cure for that. If you're interested, put a comment below and I'll cover it, because there is a cure for Windows to recover these SD cards. It happens quite a bit, I understand, but this one seems particularly susceptible to it. As I say, great action camera. Don't think it does everything. There are people on YouTube who seem to think this will do absolutely everything. No, it won't. It's a great piece of technology. It's a great action camera. And if you buy the accessories, so you can get things that mount this on a motorbike, so you can put the stick out the side of a motorbike, video yourself as if you've got a very fast drone following you. There's lots of things you can do with it. It's great, and you will have a lot of fun. But don't think it will cure it will work for every situation. For example, recording this video. This thing made a right hash of it. So I hope this has been good. I hope you've enjoyed looking at the Insta360. I've had a lot of fun with it. But I just felt that I had to say, while everybody was on YouTube saying, oh God, it does everything, it's fantastic, it's got its limitations. And I hope you enjoyed watching it anyway. If you did, like and subscribe, put a comment below. I'd love to hear from you. Again, if you want to hear about fixing SD cards, put a comment below. I'll show you how to do that. And we'll see you on the next video. Don't quite know yet where I'm going. I've started doing some meditation. I can get a bit angry as well as being grumpy. And I thought maybe the meditation would help with that. I've started that. I want to get into that a little bit before I share it with you, so I know whether it's worked for me or not. I'm still trying to sort the olive harvest. Haven't managed to get hold of the farmer. I guess he's busy starting the olive harvest or getting ready for it. And my friend who lives off grid is still away, but back in a week or two. So hopefully we'll catch up with her soon. See you soon. I shouldn't be smiling. I'm meant to be a grumpy old man. Floating on the water. There's something comedy. Oh, fucking hell. Oh, give up. Right at the end. I fucked it up.